This is what Kamala Harris said yesterday about January 6th.
Dates that occupy not only a place on our calendars, but a place in our collective memory. December 7th, 1941, September 11th, 2001, and January 6th, 2021.
I'm trying not to say bad words. Y'all can cheer me on to say them, but I would get in trouble, so I won't. Do you know after 9/11 in New York, they had a problem, and they weren't sure at first how to deal with it? Cars. They had a problem after September 11th. There were hundreds and hundreds of cars parked at train stations, in parking garages, on the side of the road, and they had no owners. The owners were dead. Had all these empty cars with no one to claim them because their owners, thousands of them, dead. People took their lives knowing they were going to die, and they jumped from tall buildings and flew to heaven as they hit the ground. Thousands of Americans died in a terrorist attack. Pearl Harbor, all those Americans died, some drowning, banging on the walls of their ships' inside air pockets, begging for help that never came until the air ran out and they suffocated and died. You can go to the USS Arizona Memorial where little bubbles of oil still come up. Americans killed, surprise attack from Japan. Michael Beschloss on MSNBC. I can't play you the audio because it would I would cross a line I can't cross on radio. He compared January 6th to the Holocaust. Do you know the population of Jews on planet Earth today is less than it was in 1930? That's how many people were exterminated by the Nazis. The BBC this morning put up a tweet exploring the decline in Yiddish. Why is Yiddish used so much less now than the mid-20th century or the early 20th century? The Holocaust. Duh. I think it is exceedingly irresponsible rhetoric to compare January 6th to September 11th, 2001, the Holocaust, or Pearl Harbor. If you can show me the video of people jumping to their deaths from the dome of the United States Capitol to escape the bison helmeted brain biblical donkey, then yes, maybe there's a comparison. But unless you can show me the hundreds of people who jumped to their deaths and the hundreds of cars left behind by owners who no longer exist because they're dead, shut the hell up. There is no comparison between them. And if you think there is, you need to recalibrate yourself and your soul and grow up a little bit. Suck it up. January 6th was bad, but it was not a coup. January 6th was seditious. It was not an insurrection. January 6th was unfortunate, and it should not be repeated, and those involved should be ashamed, and they should go to jail. But it was overwhelmingly grandmothers and idiots who wandered into the U.S. Capitol. One dude who looked like Chip Gaines carrying off Nancy Pelosi's podium. He's going to jail. Al-Qaeda did not carry off furniture. Neither did the Japanese smash a window. Al-Qaeda did not wander into the World Trade Center and look around to see what was going on and prop their feet up on the desk. The Japanese did not take a tour excursion to Pearl Harbor and mined the velvet ropes. You know, one of the most profound things about the images of January 6th is all those terrorist insurrectionists staying between the velvet ropes instead of spreading out all over the place like, Al-Qaeda did. To say that January 6th is akin to 9/11 is to weaken what happened on 9/11, not to strengthen what happened on January 6th. Actually, Babbitt was shot and killed on January 6th. She was one of the bad guys. She wasn't a good guy. They've tried to claim she was a martyr. She wasn't. She was one of the criminals who tried to smash through glass to open a door so the mob could grab members of Congress trying to flee. They were unsuccessful because of that one officer. One of the officers was beaten. Several of them ultimately died. The most notable one turned out he died of a stroke, I believe. He didn't die from the crowd beating him, as some have complained or said. President Biden, in one of his statements, conflated a police officer who was killed by a Nation of Islam nutter, claimed that he was killed on January 6th. He wasn't. He was killed by a guy who supported Louis Farrakhan and the Nation of Islam and tried to storm through a barricade at the Capitol. Completely different event. January 6th was not good. It was bad. We should condemn it, but we shouldn't conflate it into something more than it was. Have you paid attention to the video? I've paid attention to the video. I saw the mob going in. They weren't cheering. They weren't Antifa. They were Trump supporters. Some of them had zip ties and masks. Some on the outside. There were some with guns. They did not make their way inside the U.S. Capitol. Someone planted pipe bombs. The FBI can't figure out who that person was. A pipe bomb at the RNC and the DNC. That was bad. It was a bad day. It was not a good day in the history of this republic. It was not the Civil War. It was not 9/11, and it was not Pearl Harbor. And if you can't distinguish and nuance and use some shades of gray, you are an idiot. And the Vice President of the United States of America should know better, should be ashamed, but she has no sense of shame because she's not a very bright person. Kamala Harris, her deepest thought is her annoying laugh. And that's how much attention she put into this comparison, and you should all be deeply offended. There are no videos of bodies falling from the Capitol dome, splattering on the ground, the sounds of bombs going off as their bodies burst open as they died. There are no mass graves of empty cars where their owners will not come claim them as there were after 9/11. There was no cloud of asbestos floating through the United States Capitol, through Washington, D.C. on January 6th. There was none of that. There was no massive toll of death. There was no chaos from the sky. There were a bunch of idiots trying to take the law into their own hands who, guess what, were completely unsuccessful, unlike the terrorists on 9/11 or the Japanese at Pearl Harbor. And if you can't actually rationalize that and process it and understand it, maybe you should get offline and off MSNBC and take a breather and get back to reality.